what is different between business analysis and the erstwhile systems analysis and design that we have been talking for so many years? Essentially what has changed is from a mere requirements gathering, you now talk about managing expectations of a customer, and that implies trying to solve real world business problems and challenges of a customer and not just develop a piece of software and give it. Gathering also itself has changed over the years. So it's, there was the time when people used to sit with a notebook and a pen in front of a user and ask him, please tell me what your requirements are. This almost sounds like sitting in a Udupi restaurant and asking, do you want tea or coffee? Requirements are not so easy nowadays. They are very complex. Business situations are complex. Business processes are complex. So it's important that the analyst learns a multiple set of techniques to understand requirements in a holistic manner. He should observe with his eyes. He should be able to sense from the environment. He should inspect documents. He should walk around and see and trace how the flow of processes takes place in a real life company to be able to judge for himself what the real process is. And based on that, then he visualizes what the future process could be. So requirements gathering has now become really multi-sensing. It has also become deep analysis. In fact, many times I find that in the software industry, you get documented requirements from a customer, and sitting here, people don't even think, and they merely code it. And after coding, they realize that the customer is making changes because he might have made mistakes in the document. So it's very important that even if you get documented requirements from a customer, it is your job as an analyst to ask questions about the requirements, clarify where you need to go deep into the analysis, and only then start design and coding of the software. So that stage which was of analysis, which is missing in many companies, so you get requirements and then you translate into code, should now look like there is a requirement which is documented, but there is an analysis done which is conscious, a lot of clarification with the customer, and then ultimately you design and code. So gathering to analysis, but even more interesting is, like for instance an architect looks at a building from the inside, from the outside view, the top view, the front view, the elevation as you call it. Every view provides a certain aspect about the building. Likewise, a business analyst must take as many perspectives as possible about a process. So let it be a front view of the process, a top view of a process, a side view, the internal view of a process, each view providing a different perspective and a different understanding. The game of business analysis is essentially a thorough understanding of a business process. So every method, every perspective which helps you gain a better understanding and a different understanding, it's most welcome and it's required. So as an analyst, please make it a discipline to understand as many different perspectives about a process as possible before you attempt to even think of a solution. So you're now looking at not just requirements, but you're looking at analysis. But beyond that, you're going towards a solutions approach. So like I said earlier, you're now trying to solve a client's business problem. You're not out there to deliver a software which you're developing. Software is a piece in the larger part of the solution. So your, again, focus should shift from serving a human need. So therefore, there's a huge talk about human-centered approach. You're trying to solve a human problem, a business problem, an organizational problem. But there's one more dimension to human-centered approach, which is human factors. Increasingly now, IT is not within the realm of the IT department. Everybody in the company actually participates in IT. As a lay user, I use IT. Even, for instance, in an e-governance project, the lay public is expected to directly interact with an IT solution. Let's say a kiosk on the railway station. An ordinary passenger who probably doesn't even know English, he is supposed to use a touch screen and access it. An ATM, for example, is where people directly participate in a technology-based solution. Therefore, it's important to design an interaction between the human being and the system in such a manner that it makes it more comfortable for the user and also more reliable and secure for the user to use such a system. Now, this is known as human factors. This is known as human computer interaction or interaction design as it is called, something which business analysts must start understanding at this point of time. Security and quality are two new dimensions over the last decade, and I think security particularly is becoming extremely important now. Quality we have seen in the 90s and 2000s. I think it's a fairly mature understanding about quality of code and programs and such things. But how do you embed security in the development process, but also how do you design systems which are more secure at the hands of the user? This is something which one has to worry about. There are new evolving standards in these areas like the ISO 25000, which talks about security and quality requirements of a software. Last but not the least, one must understand that software and applications today do not work in isolation. So there was a time when you used to have departmental computerization. Today everything is integrated. Everything is part of an end-to-end business process. So it's very important to be able to analyze the enterprise as a whole, to be able to understand the larger context within which an application works. As we go ahead, I'll give you an example as to what I mean by context. But for the moment, appreciate the fact that don't just study application requirements, but also study the larger context within which the application is expected to work. Having said all this, the fact remains that at the core of the business analyst role is that of requirements. Let me give you a small exercise to understand why I say this. I'm giving you a set of clues one step at a time. Mentally think of a variety of solutions that come to your mind as you read one line at a time. So here's your first line. I need a solution, a kind of a vehicle which is equipped with an internal combustion engine. So what kind of solutions come to mind? Anything and everything. It could be a car, it could be a truck, it could be even an airplane for that matter. Anything that has an internal combustion. Clue number 2, it's available in yellow-black and yellow-black combination. What kind of solution comes to your mind? Yes, I mean most of the time you would think of a taxi, a Mumbai taxi for instance has those kind of colors. Clue number 3, it has 3 wheels. Suddenly your concept of a Mumbai taxi vanishes because this is a 3-wheeler which is not a taxi. So maybe, I mean, it could be an auto rickshaw if you do have those yellow and black colors. It has a 3-speed forward and a 3-speed reverse gearbox. So probably that rickshaw kind of a concept holds good still. And then the line says levels uneven surfaces. So it's obviously not a rickshaw, something else which is going to level surfaces. The point I'm driving at is every line in a requirement can completely change the solution. For instance, we moved from a car to a taxi to a rickshaw, and now we are thinking of a totally different solution. And what could be the solution? This is the solution. So you would notice that every line in the requirement document is so important. If as an analyst I fail to capture even a single line, I end up delivering a completely wrong solution to the customer. That is the important and the sum and substance of requirement gathering. And that is something which you have to learn to master and do your best at so that you capture every single line. There's another problem. In a large software company, for instance, where there are 50, 100 people working, each person is interacting directly with the customer. And as he interacts, he's creating a subtle commitment in terms of a new requirement, in terms of an expectations in the mind of a customer. Now the challenge really is all these 50, 100 people should be able to consolidate their requirement at one single place. If you don't, then you end up delivering the wrong kind of a solution. So it's like saying I might deliver a auto rickshaw instead of a cab, or I might deliver a tractor instead of something else. Now that's not ideal from a customer standpoint. So there has to be a mechanism to have requirements always updated and at a single point so that the right solution is ultimately delivered.